Everybody, this is Jose with Oakland Latinos United, aka Oakland Latinos Unidos, on here with a new video for you guys to enjoy. Well, the video I want to talk today about is about a guy who's a fraud and a guy who's been passing himself as a native indigenous Chicano. You know what I mean? And this dude basically came on the scene and has been acting like he's the super Aztec, super indigenous shaman, warrior, holy high, you know what I mean? Holy high heaven guy who you know what I mean, talks to God himself, possibly. And this guy is basically one in many other fakes and frauds and fraudulent people and culture vultures, you know what I mean? Cultural appropriators, which I don't really use those words, but this kind of person is like that. And the person I'm talking about, he goes by the name, supposedly, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Tepishweeply. And he also called himself Iron Jacket. He claimed to be a shaman, you know what I mean? He claimed to be a Chichimeca, possibly claimed to be a Nahuatl or an Aztec. But it turns out the guy is actually a white guy from Florida who came from a white, well-to-do family, according to what I'm reading. And his name is Owen Thomas, or Owen Thomas Phillips. And this dude, I guess he came, let's do a little background, because I did my research before I made this video. I've actually watched a few videos online, and I'll leave links to American Cholo and a couple of others who have talked about it. Actually, some of the I guess you could say, I don't want to say victims, but some of the people that got bamboozled by this guy spoke out against it. And I'll post all that in the link in the description on the bottom. So apparently this guy came on the scene, I guess, with a group from San Diego. I don't know much about them, but they claim to be like Cholo Goths, which I've never heard of Cholo Goth. In my time, Cholos and Goths were two different worlds. And when I was growing up, a Goth was probably the type of person that would probably get robbed by a Cholo for their lunch money at school. And I'm just keeping it real. But apparently this Prayers, I think they're a group, or I'm not sure if Prayers is a group or a person, but I guess they're like Cholo Goths. They claim to be like satanic, I guess, or from San Diego. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea, I can tell you that. They started promoting this guy named Iron Jacket, who claimed to be some kind of shaman, healer, medicine man, some indigenous, you know, super Aztec, like I said, who lived, I guess, off the grid somewhere in New Mexico. And he came up, I guess, with this concept of Choloani, which he tried to say that Cholos are descendants of a indigenous warrior tribe or something like that, and that it lived on within the Cholos, and that the Cholos were like revolutionaries who were fighting white supremacy. Now, that's a good romanticization of Cholos. You know what I mean? I understand that a lot of people like to romanticize Cholos and Pachucos and Zoo shooters, but that's not the case. The Cholo style came from the Zoot Suiters, if you know your Cholo history, from the Pachucos. And in turn, the Pachuco Zoot Suit style came from the Harlem, from the jazz and swing culture. You know what I mean? And basically, the Cholos were the new version or the modern version of the old Pachucos once that style started dying out. Now, I will agree that, you know, Cholos and Pachucos were against conformity, and they would dress the way they dressed because they felt they didn't fit in the world they were in. You know what I mean? But to call them revolutionaries, yeah, Cholos are not revolutionary. Trust me, I grew up around Cholos. Matter of fact, Cholos can be some of the most conservative people on this planet. I've met plenty of Cholos who are Trump supporters, plenty of Cholos who don't like Mexicans or don't like raza. Cholos kill each other over gang stuff. You know what I mean? So no, maybe an ex-Cholo and maybe a small number of cholos might be revolutionary minded. I do know former gang members who became revolutionary minded, but they came revolutionary minded after the fact. But most cholos are involved in gangs, prison gangs, and in criminal activity, which I don't know if you want to call that revolutionary, but chances are a cholo will probably hurt you or beat you if you're another ground person and you're not part of their clique. But anyway, this dude Choloani, or Iron Jacket, or whatever, was put on the scene, I guess, by this guy, by this group called Prayers. They made a music video with them. They make some kind of video where he explains what Choloani is and how Cholo dress is similar to how Native American people dress. And all this romanticized story that makes for good sales, but it's BS. You know what I mean? It's BS. And, like I said, it turns out this guy's a fraud. And I also seen a couple of other videos where it says he was trying to create a sex cult or a sex ring or whatever, where he was telling women that he was special and that to have sex with him, his dick was basically, you know, a heavenly one, and to have it is you have to be a special woman. And he gave a good spiel. And this is the problem with these guys. You know what I mean? They use sex as a vehicle to suck you in. You know what I mean? They're basically predators. And this is, I guess, his mugshot. You know, he's a white dude from Florida. And, you know, us as Raza, we got to be careful from falling victims to people like this, because we are a damaged people. We've come from colonialism, poverty, self-hatred, and it's easy to be bamboozled or tricked by idiots like this guy. You know what I mean? And you know, he dresses in his regalia, he talks a good talk, he has the game, and he has a good spiel, but he's basically no different than any other cult leader. You know what I mean? Let's look at some of the cult leaders. David Koresh, whose real name is Vernon Howe. That was the Branch Davidian guy. What did he say? He said that the world was going to end and we were supposed to leave society and join him because he's the Messiah. And he used that to have sex with women in the cult, with kids in the cult. You know what I mean? Another one is Jim Jones. What did he do? He was actually from the Bay Area. He got people together and said that the world was going to end and he was the Messiah and they were going to come destroy them. They built this place in Guyana. And then when he felt that they were going to attack them, he made everybody commit mass suicide by drinking genocide-laced Kool-Aid. Hence where drink the Kool-Aid comes from. And this guy, Iron Jacket, is no different. You know what I mean? He follows the same exact thing. Manipulating women for sex. God knows if he maybe is a pedophile and slept with underage kids. You know, I don't know. You know what I mean? He's holier and he's the shaman and he knows what's right. You know, you got to follow and conform to whatever he wants you to follow. Apparently he was making people eat some certain diet and live a certain way, and he claimed that he only hunted. You know, he also made up a story that he was this super Sureño from Boyle Heights, East LA, and he got shot in the head when he was 12 or something like that. And all kinds of just preposterous BS. And this guy, you know what I mean? He's one in line with a lot of other white weirdos that want to culturally appropriate our culture and take advantage of our people. Like Rachel Dolezal, who pretended to be black and was the leader of the NAACP. Reminds me of another one named Aztec Shaman, if you guys remember that on YouTube a long time ago. Some fake-ass white girl whose real name turned out to be Chloe Monopolis or something like that. Making a mockery of our people, of our culture, you feel me? And this guy is no different. This Owen Thomas Phillips or whatever his name is. Choloani, as I call him, Pendejoani. You know, Iron Jacket, Iron Pendejo. But, yeah, I could totally picture this guy, you know what I mean? Creating a cult, a sex cult, and a cult, and creating a situation where he thinks the world is going to end and people have to commit mass genocide or something, you know? Mass suicide, I mean. And apparently, I guess what happened was he cut himself in an accident, and he lived off the grid somewhere in New Mexico, and the nearest hospital was like 3 hours away. So they had to airlift him there. And I guess some of his followers decided to call him out on his BS. And this is how all this information came out about him. Now, I didn't know anything about this dude before. I first heard about this from my friend about 2 weeks ago. Then American Cholo talked about it, and a couple other people talked about it. So I wanted to make a video badly, but before I did, I wanted to do my investigation, and I did. And that's why I'm confident enough to make this video. All I have to say is there's a history in this world of cult leaders, like Charles Manson, another one, you know, David Koresh, and Jim Jones, who have fooled and bamboozled people and sold them a dream. And what happened? You know what I mean? These kind of people are a danger to our community, especially to our raza. And they have to be exposed and called out for the pieces of you-know-what that they are. You know what I mean? Him being white doesn't really mean anything to me, because there's plenty of white cholos. I could give an example of Woody, who was a norteño from Antioch. But he wasn't pretending like he was something that he wasn't. He grew up in that lifestyle. This guy took it to a whole new level. Not only did he lie about his identity, not only did he... It's one thing if he would have been a white guy that respected the Aztec indigenous culture, but he lied about his identity. He became this shaman, supposedly. He gave this title of Grand Shaman, and he's more holier than anybody else. And supposedly, in one of the things I heard, before he was supposedly a Chichimeca, and supposedly he had an ID that said that he was a diplomat Chichimeca, which is a pile of horse shit. And supposedly before that, he was claiming to be a Lakota, and he claimed to be bodyguard of Russell Means, I think. And just all kinds of lies. This guy is faker than Dolly Parton's tits. Just put it like that. And, you know, this guy just takes a cake, pretending to be a Sureño, pretending to be from East LA, from Gold Heights, pretending to be a shaman, you know what I mean? Trying to use indigenous vulnerable women and possibly underage girls for sex. And the list goes on and on. This guy's a fucking fraud. You know, Pendejoani, you know what I mean? Owen Thomas Phillips, you know? And you people, you folks out there, my raza, my gente, you gotta be careful. I know a lot of our people are looking for a group to belong to, a search of identity, but these fake frauds will take that and see the vulnerable part of you and use it against you for their own pleasure or sick will. And they control your mind, control your spirit, and control your lives. And these fake people have to be called out. These are parasites in our community. And you know what? I know other people in the activist community that are pieces of you-know-what, like this guy. I won't call them out because I don't have the proof. But I could tell you they're Mactivists. Mactivist means you're an activist who goes into an activist circle to get pussy, to get women. They're fake. They're plastic. They're trash. And they need to be called out. And that's all I could really tell you. These people are good manipulators. They have a good mouthpiece. They're very charming. And they know how to manipulate your emotions, just like politicians and cult leaders do. So be careful, raza. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to leave a link to all these stories if you want to know more about this pendejo. But this is Jose, over and out.